So what do we got here?
Oh no, we're recording right now, Eric. You don't
We're
get
going.
to. Yeah, you don't get
This is
the
a cold
preamble
start.
conversation.
This is like Saturday Night Live. Just going cold. Just go.
You're late.
Just go.
You're late.
Yeah.
You decided to come on here and complain about a bunch of stuff
buddy.
before we started.
That's not fair.
You don't get your pre-conversation. We're going right into it. Welcome to the Swim Brief. My name is Chris DeSantis, I think. I'm joined by Joel Rawlings from his usual haunt. Got the Bosu ball in the background.
Those aren't Bosu balls. Those are targets for the Nerf gun. When you have a child that's as wound up as mine and as much rain as we have, just throw them in the basement, let them go shoot things.
Oh, does it rain a lot up in Oregon?
No, that's what people keep telling me.
Okay. And from a beautiful backdrop, Eric Wyken. And he's wearing green.
That is a linear background. Look at that. That is like lots of like squares. Yeah. Everything is like tidy. and I like that the color behind it. I think it's unoffensive gray is what the realtors will call it when they're trying to move a house on you.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's called sell this property.
Exactly. Property gray.
And I was on a work call, Chris. That's why I was late.
Right.
Listen, buddy, don't take this work business into our deal.
While you were busy doing your best David Hasselhoff, which is why we ended up having to go when we did.
If David Hasselhoff sat next to a pool and streamed NCAAs onto a laptop while he was sitting in the lifeguard chair, that would be my best David Hasselhoff.
I don't want to see what David Hasselhoff is streaming on his laptop.
Right. No, I don't think so either.
Or home. Yeah.
Very popular in Germany.
Big in Germany. Can't be Belgium.
Good. Yeah, can't be good. Right. Anyway, I guess I nominally brought you guys on here to talk about the big swim meet that's going on. That would be the women's Division I NCAA swimming and diving championship.
Dude, you said you wanted to talk about NCAAs. And I watched Kentucky lose. I watched all these great games, and then you switch up the topic to talk swimming. Okay, all right, we're going to pivot. Go ahead. I'll roll with it. I'll just feed off you guys.
Sorry, I was going to say also that we were going to let Joel talk about the Division III combined meet that's going on.
I'm all for it. I can do one better for those degenerates out there that are gambling.
Yeah,
I'm going to predict the top 3 finishers for the NCAA for Division III. They're all going to be private schools. In fact, the top 15 will be private schools.
Okay, great.
There you go. Wow. There you go. Take that to the bank. Put your money on it.
And just to table set one more thing, we're not going to be comprehensive in our coverage because one of the sort of just to give everybody a peek behind the curtain here at the Swim Brief. Eric is the only one with the attention span to pay attention to everything that's going on at a meet.
Yes.
So Joel and I have to handicap him by not making it comprehensive so that we just have to discuss one thing at a time. And then even if he brings something up that we haven't paid attention to, we only have one thing to sort of BS our way through as we're listening to it. So that's sort of the strategy.
Yeah.
Right, Eric?
Yeah, you guys make it out like it's just I use technology. People tweet about things, and then places like Swimgram post.
What's a tweet?
Twitter. What is it?
Joel, you're gonna get us censored with some of those mispronunciations.
Yeah. Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, work on that. All right. But that said, I'm gonna let Eric go first. Eric, what's your big thing halfway through this NCAA?
That once the nerves got out, UVA just is doing it exactly kind of what we'd all expect, and they are firing on all cylinders. I mean, they just about completely matched their projected scores for finals, with only Texas women really having the hottest hand of the weekend. Yeah. Which is great to see because it's been a bit of a long time coming for that program to get them back up there in the top 5 and fighting for top 3 essentially. So it just probably the individual swim that I only saw a couple of videos, and I showed you guys, or I led you to the link that you had to click on. I don't know if I'm using words that you guys understand at this point still, no. But just watching that 2IM final and it being a dead heat through 125 yards, and then in a matter of a pullout, it being over. Like just seeing the dramatic change, and in that last 75, just watching Alex Walsh walk away with that IM was really impressive. Almost going 149. So that's been my biggest takeaway so far, is watching those two US Open records thus far, with seemingly a big night ahead of us in these 200s.
Yeah, I mean, I think tonight, especially the 100 fly is very
the hundreds,
vulnerable.
I should say. Sorry.
Yeah. The 100 fly is very vulnerable. The 100 back is very vulnerable. You're right. UVA just seems to be crushing it across the board. And it's a testament to what they've done that their 132-1 200 medley relay was disappointing. I'm doing scare quotes for those of you who can't watch the video, on the opening night. And, the fact that Stanford, with I think 3 Olympians, was able to beat them in the 800 freestyle relay was another step in that direction. What do you think, Joel?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of excited about swimming again. I'm usually the worst human ever to have on these podcasts.
Sure,
whatever.
It's a swimming podcast, and you just come over in here and
I don't know anything about swimming. Yeah,
right.
And I think because the medley relay, obviously that was pretty interesting. Well, what happened to Stanford? And right away, there's kind of want to hop on the bashing bandwagon. You see Regan Smith turn, holy crap, that was awful. I feel bad for that kid hitting the turn like that. But the cool thing is just that you see these mistakes happen at that elite pro level. I mean, in the Olympics, we see girls' goggles come off in the middle of it. You see a woman miss a turn, and all this stuff where it's nice to see that there's not perfection all the way across the board. Because a lot of these times I see these clips of people talking about swimming and stuff, and this isn't applicable to 99% of the world. It's I just have this, 6'8" dude throw a heavy medicine ball around, and he does 50 yards and he does great things. Yeah, he does. How about the rest of us, And so it's nice just to see, mistakes are going to happen and things are going to happen. And, as coaches, how we deal with this and how the athletes deal with this is really a cool thing. The 500 freestyle, again, who would have thought we'd talk about that? So I'll hit on that. I actually got really excited about swimming after that, because there's so much stuff that went on that's positive. I think so many times we look at the negative, or I know I looked at the negative. And I had a former swimmer what would I tell an 11, 12-year-old about this? I said, everything that's right about swimming is in this. I said, if I were telling an 11, 12-year-old, respect racing. Brooke Forty, is that how you pronounce her name? 40?
Yeah.
She chose to do that race. She could have done a lot of races. She went up and swam that 500, knowing what the times of the other people are. That's freaking great. And that should be celebrated. And there should be pictures of that on every swimming publication there possibly could be. I mean, people should be going crazy for that. Someone stepping up and not winning. We always want that Disney ending where well, this person chose to do this and wanted it so hard and then won. How about the people that wanted it really bad and they didn't win? I mean, that's pretty cool too, especially when they chose to do that. It's not like she lost. She's great. It's fantastic. And the UVA parents coming down and respecting everyone that competed in that race and cheering. I mean, that's ultimate in sportsmanship. And that's what you tell 11 and 12-year-olds. And that's fantastic. The dude that yelled cheater, I guess, in the morning, the fact that he married up to a person that has enough brain cells to pass those along to his daughter so that she could get into college, that's an amazing thing.
Right.
Because
what an accomplishment for that guy.
Exactly. Yeah. The person who won didn't cheat. She followed the rules, and for everyone to be slamming a person that followed the rules, it's I get it. Everyone wants a villain. Everyone wants the person to take the hit. And what should have happened, I don't know, maybe this did happen. Maybe the president of the NCAA could have been in the stands and be like, you know what, I'll take the hit. I'm the one in charge of the NCAA. I'm in charge of these rules. How about instead of bashing a 21-year-old or their coach, how about hopping on me because this is my job. This is where I make the big money off of, not a student athlete. That would have been a nice thing to do too. I think also, what would I tell an 11, 12-year-old? It's not about the place, because you can't control the place. You can't control what happened here. Whoever was 17th, I read about that she was upset. It's like, yeah, she missed out on being an All-American honorable mention. That's a pretty cool thing. Whoever's ninth, the freshman from Tennessee, she could have been a freshman All-American. And that's a really cool thing. And what's important now is, what do they do next? They become the person that was that, or whatever else is in their future. And that's always been the cool thing about swimming. And the cool thing about coaching is everything's a teachable moment. You can let things hit you and be whatever you want it to be, or you can move forward. The bad guys in this weren't in the pool. The bad guys are the person that did this rules. The bad guys are the committees that didn't address this earlier. I'm also, again, we've gotten this far without even bringing up Leah. For a 21-year-old to take the abuse, I'm sure, that's going on in her own life and the emails and stuff, and still get up there and persevere, that's pretty cool. I'm already seeing articles, well, she didn't give a conference afterwards. At 21, I'm 51 and I'm saying stupid crap all the time. I can't imagine coming off a race like that, being 21 and being composed enough to go, you know what? I'm not going to talk. I also feel bad for the Penn State coach, because I'm sure he got a bunch of emails and he's like, dude, I'm not even that school. Why do you keep emailing me? Why am I getting death threats?
Poor Tim Murphy's out there somewhere is like, look, this is not even my team, guys. Leave me alone.
And so you think that if they can't figure out the difference between Penn and Penn State, that they shouldn't have a valid vote in this. So, but again, they still get to be on the troll boards and things like that. So I think there's a lot of really cool things that came out of that 500. And, it's, again, I guess the coach in me, that teachable moment, I'm pretty excited about it. I'm excited about the people that didn't win and how they handled it. And I saw the picture where the group of women were together, and Leah was on the first, and the group of women got a picture together. And I think it's about perspective. You can look at it and be like, oh, look at, they're separated themselves, or look at the shitstorm that those women survived as well. Absolutely no fault to them. I'm sure every day this season they're having to answer topics of this. It's like, I just want to swim the 500. I want to do my race. It has nothing to do with her. I want to do my race, but yet I have to keep on answering all these questions about transgender and things. I just want to swim. I want to swim my 500. I didn't ask to be brought into this.
Do we even know? Do we even know the context of that moment and whether or not the cameraman just did this, looked straight at these three?
No idea.
We don't. So we have this picture of Leah over here with these three over here, and people, it's being spread all over social media. Is like, this is about perspective. Look at what this is saying. It's like maybe Erica Sullivan just brought him in, not even thinking about it. She's been pro Leah publicly this whole time. She's been very supportive and understanding. It's like people are just, creating things to create things and just causing this to be such a huge deal. And I'm not trying to not say it's not a big deal, but we're just, like Joel is doing, he's looking at the positives. And we had a hell of a race in that final.
Yes.
Because you're looking at,
look at those times. It's insane.
Even with Leah, between 4:33 and 4:37 is still it's 4 seconds. It's 2 seconds between, the second through fifth. It's like anything happens on that last 150. So let's just enjoy what's going on, and these women are swimming.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago. 4:33
one of the highest
for a guy
pressure situations in the world.
Yeah.
4:33 on any level is amazing. I mean, men's back in the day is like, and you have a heat full of women that are going this fast. I mean, that's really, again, the positive of women's athletics. And again, we can focus on this one aspect of it, or we can also focus on the positive things. And I'm not saying they're mutually exclusive. Do I think there is an unfair biological advantage? Yeah, probably. But do I think it's that person that's racing's fault? No. Again, people are following the rules, and it's unfortunate when the adults in the room are the 19-year-old women and 20-year-old women.
Right.
Again, I understand. Oh man, I understand. What I can as far as being upset if you could have been an All-American or whatever.
Yeah.
By all means, you're entitled to emotions. You're entitled to these things. But I think, again, as a coach, I would always tell the people I'm coaching, again, bad things are going to happen, and what we do next is what's important.
And Everyone excuse me for being a bit raspy on this, little more hoarse than I usually sound. But I want to address one thing that you brought up there, Joel, which is you say, like, what would you say to your 11, 12-year-old? I watched all finals with my 8-year-old daughter. She's transfixed. She's just started taking some swim lessons. I basically have done all her swimming instruction up to this point. And when I say I've done her swimming instruction, I've brought her to the pool and let her play around. And she's sort of nominally learned how to do freestyle and, push off a wall and dive to the bottom and all these little things. But I wanted her to do summer league. So I'm having somebody else kind of teach her how to do backstroke, how to do breaststroke, how to do an impersonation of somebody swimming butterfly when you're 8-year-old and you don't know what you're doing. And she was transfixed, by the way. She moved herself up. I have a picture of it. I was at my laptop sitting on our little kitchen island. She moved herself up so that her face was, like a foot away from the screen. And she watched the 500 and I was cheering for Leah. So she's like, she's still at that age where she goes, I like whoever daddy likes. So she was super excited that she won. And it wasn't until Isaac Hennig, the transgender swimmer from Yale, swam, and they addressed it on the broadcast that Hennig has transitioned to male, but it continued to compete in women's swimming, that she went, so there's a boy swimming in the girls event, Daddy? I said, yeah, there is. And one of my jobs at home is to explain, all those hard questions that little kids ask you, where they're just curious about the world. And she said, well, how does that work? I said, well, there's actually 2 transgender swimmers swimming in the competition. And she goes, well, what does that mean? I said, Isaac was born with body parts that we associate with being a girl. Just body parts. He had body parts like you. But inside of himself, he's a man. And so that's what's happened in his life. And I said, Leah, who we were cheering for earlier, was born with body parts that we associate with being a man. But inside of herself, she's a woman. And so she's decided to, or she's competing as a woman. And Olivia was like, my daughter, she was like, all right, moving on. That was the best explanation I could come up with in the moment. And I think
that's a good point, though. Like the idea of perspective we talked about, we and I texted the perspective, is the idea like with masks. If you're looking at it from the perspective that I'm trying to keep everyone around me safe by wearing a mask versus I'm trying to keep the disease from getting to me by wearing a mask. I think people had a different feeling towards those masks based on that initial perspective. And we talked about the same initial perspective of, do you believe that this is a person that chose one day that I'm going to be a woman, or someone that was born a woman, like as you explained, with male body parts? And so those two perspectives right there are going to also paint how you do things.
Right.
And how you think about things and everything. And again, I look at a lot of these coaches and people in general, not in this issue, but all issues. It kind of comes down that perspective and that inability for us as coaches to understand our blind spots and see where we have to see these things differently a little bit. How there's so many kids coming in with so many different backgrounds and so many ideas. And it's just such a time of, I don't know how to describe it. It's just a time where there's so much change going on, of athlete empowerment, of social justice issues, all these things that if we're not willing to be a little more open about our point of view and understand those other ones are going to be vastly different from our own, I think it's going to be either really hard for us to coach, or we're going to have to find a coach of only like-minded people to coach, which is going to be impossible. But again, as coaches and as mentors for these people, I think that's the things we have to understand and just try to coach like what's best for that one individual, as we've also talked about in a setting of 50 other kids making poverty wages.
Right. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that Vern Gambetta tweet on this
Okay.
podcast unless you guys make me at the end.
No, it's all right.
Any other stuff, Joel? Was that your thing that you were bringing up for NCAAs or?
Yeah, that's obviously, like, it's just amazing just how the 50 is the dominant now. I don't know if it always was like that, but it's
Right.
just, it is, the 50 has become so much, and especially on the women's side, I think the power of it is what's driving the 50, because you can do a 50, then you can do 100. If you can do a 50 and 100, that's all you really need to do, and maybe you can swim up to do a 200. That's just the direction it's gone. And it's always interesting to see also why one area also becomes a dynasty, or why it becomes great. And I think those are the things that I would look at more. Again, I don't really get caught up in individual swims so much as just why things are going on, I guess. And so I don't know if that's the perspective, but that's the perspective I have. Like, why are things going on like this? And I think, NC State's having a great meet too. And I think they're the ones who kind of pioneered, hey, let's take advantage of YouTube and take advantage of these 50s and things like that. Get this media going out there and show that we're doing these things. And they kind of drove that a little bit and created that, I don't know, whatever momentum, I guess it's now at NC State that carries over to Virginia, and that's the thing, is you get areas with good swimming, you get good schools that people want to be a part of, you get good facilities, you're going to set yourself up, and it goes into Division III as well. The scholarship packages, the places to go. And you want to talk D3, it's kind of like, every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. Every time a team gets cut at D1, you get 18 more All-Americans coming to Division III. So it all will trickle down like that. And some of the scholarship packages they offer are just as good, if not better, than Division I scholarships. And they're doing a great job coaching. That's really cool thing, is to see how many really good coaching things are going on out there as well.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to bring up from Division I NCAAs, because I want to cut you off at the pass again, with regards to Division III, because
it's all I want to talk about.
Right.
I know, but go ahead.
We're losing our audience of 5 people as you start to bring that stuff up, and we're trying to build the audience, Joel.
Oh, my bad.
I will say something about UVA, because what else can you talk about? I guess plenty of things, but we're going to end up talking about UVA a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I see a remarkable skill gap between the UVA swimmers and the rest of the teams there. It really stood out to me watching the preliminary 100 fly today, although it stood out with Walsh and Douglas in the 50 yesterday as well. But I was watching Kate Douglas swim against Kylie Alons from NC State in the prelims of the 100 butterfly. And I have to confess, I'd never seen the two of them match up. I know that Douglas is faster. I know that Douglas, strikes a very imposing figure on the pool deck. She's tall, she's strong. And so you just kind of assume she's going to overpower the competition. But that's not what I saw. Alons, to me, was actually better swimmer, better at swimming butterfly than Kate Douglas, and pretty even in terms of her ability to kick underwater. Douglas was just much better at the skills of the race. She had a better start. She had a better breakout. She nailed every turn in comparison. And I'm kind of seeing this from UVA across the board. And it's interesting to me that we've gotten such a large amount of attention given to them. And we get Coleman Hodges to go down and do practice and pancakes. And we hear about the training sets. But what is going on that they've developed such a high skill level? That's what I'm really curious about, watching it, because this is such a high level competition, such a competitive competition. And it's a remarkable difference. I think once you listen to this podcast, all 5 of you, and then you go watch finals tonight, which, by the way, I'll be on Brett Hawk Live again. Here's my plug for that. Talking while finals go on. So if you really want to hear me more with this level of hoarseness, maybe I'll drink some nice chamomile tea or something beforehand. but I think you're not going to be able to unsee that gap. And it's just interesting to me.
Eric switched his background. Is that a green screen?
No,
Yeah,
I had to mute Eric because there was your voice, Joel, was playing in feedback over Eric's video, and it was driving me crazy. So I had to mute. Yeah.
No, I was also I'm also at home where my family is.
Oh, maybe that's what I was hearing.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So I was in a spare room. I was in the spare room at that point, and that's why there was a little bit of activity. So no, I apologize, but
yeah, you're fine.
No, it's a very tasteful room. I no apologies needed.
We're going with the non-offensive off-white now, as opposed to the gray here. For those of you who don't watch the YouTube. But I apologize. I was moving rooms over the course of the last minute or so. But just, I guess, just to further your point, yeah, I just one of the big things. I mean, and you brought it up. You talk about Kate Douglas is the number of women on this team that have such a range. I mean, we're talking how. It has to have been a really long time for somebody to be the US Open and American record holder in the 50 free and also be the number one seed in the 200 breaststroke.
Right.
Has anything like this ever really happened? And Abby Weitzel's an incredible swimmer, but she's not doing the 2 breast on day 3. Or day 4, rather. Sorry, with the new format, it's day 4.
Well, she could, but do we think she could even do an NCAA B cut? I mean, it'd be an interesting thing to find out.
Let alone 203 low, right? And you know, and you're looking at this IM, and you look at the 150.0, and that's only because, again, who didn't swim it, or it's like Alex Walsh. It's like you're looking at the events that we're seeing today. It's like, what are they not swimming that they also could be doing? Do you give them an 8-day format of a yards meet and just see how fast they can go in all of these events? Just like you said, it's a cut above the rest. And then it was actually on Twitter, and one of your favorites, Herbie had posted an underwater footage of Kate Douglas's start, and she's the only one not kicking right away. And we see Caleb do that. And obviously he wasn't the only one who's ever done that. But just like you said, the skills, the things that they are doing in a short course format is statistically significant in terms of how much better they are.
Yeah, I think if you kind of think of it like the Moneyball thing, looking for market inequities and where you can get the most bang for the buck, it's definitely the breakouts are such key. And that's exactly right. As you're thinking about that, those Virginia breakouts, everyone just seems to be hitting just exceptionally well on their breakouts, and that's. In a meet like this where it's just so little separating everything, you hit the breakouts. That's what you obviously need to be able to get up and go. And you know, the time spent on that, again, you're not developing power, you're not developing anything else, any aerobic capacity. It's a matter of just practice and getting that feel and getting that round and experimenting and finding that right thing. And so you can see that they're putting the time in experimenting, in playing around with different things, to making sure that everything, when you get to a meet like this, is perfect. We talked about Regan Smith missing her turn. You know, we're not saying that with Virginia. We're saying like, it starts great, breakout's great, hitting the wall is great, especially on those short axis strokes, timing the into and out of the wall, that first stroke, hitting like they are. It's obviously, you know, great job coaches, great athletes, but it's also, you know, attention to detail by the coaching staff.
And I think one more thing I want to bring attention to is just want to give honorable mention to Taylor Ruck, who I think is so far kind of the comeback story of this whole NCAA beat. Obviously, earlier in the year, she was pretty open about the fact that she had struggled with an eating disorder. She had, you know, performed at an incredibly high level and then performed at not quite as high a level. So I've been really just excited to watch her swim lights out at this meet. And of course, I'm cheering for her. I mean, it makes me think too that, you know, one of the things we end up missing sometimes in swimming is we just don't know enough about the people that are competing, and you know, like the how much they've been through to get to this point. And when you do know something like that, like, it just gives you something to cheer for, honestly. And that's more than anything also why I was cheering for Leah, because as you say, she's been through a lot, And so I can't help but cheer for her when I see her race. And
Yeah,
I
and-
felt the
and
same
I
way
think-
about Ruck.
I think sometimes too, when people hear that you're cheering for Leah, it means like you're cheering against the others. And like I said, those other women in that heat,
No,
they went through just as much now, just because it was like, why am I answering a question about something that it's not me?
right.
You know,
And I have no
again,
control over that. Like,
yeah. And where were you for the past 3 years when I was doing great things, you know, high school or swimming here wise?
right.
You weren't asking me questions then. All of a sudden people just kind of start showing up now because there's, you know, blood in the water. Let's start a feeding frenzy. But yeah, I think that's the coolest part is when you can start to get those backstories. And I think that's what the Olympics is always kind of fed on, is like, you know, no one really cares about like biathlon, for instance. Well, whoever the fifth listener just cut, because obviously they're a big biathlon fan and they'll chime in about it. But having the backstory of what it took to get that person there, and I think that's an area where I think swimming should start to emphasize a lot more, not just for like, you know, audience, but also for other kids to know, like, wow, this person went through this, I'm going through this, you know, I can keep doing that as well.
Yeah. All right, guys, anything else, or should we head to the bonus zone? You got anything left for the official podcast? No, Eric's throwing his hands up. Joel's
Eric's got
cocking his
another
head to the side.
Eric's, I think, trying to sell the house. He's going to go to another room to show off, maybe hit the bathroom up, show walk-in shower, things like that.
Yeah, this is actually on this stream is going to Zillow.
Exactly.
Right away, yeah.
This house went from like 248 to like 325 just in 2 rooms.
Yeah.
Let's see the bathroom, dude. We're going to go for 480. That's where the money's at.
It is in Wisconsin, though.
Tonight's final is going to be exciting. Fine, you want something?
Yeah.
For tonight's final is going to be absolutely crazy. 3 women under 50 in the 100 back right now, and that's before, you know, Ryan White has a chance to.
Here we go with the Ryan White
to pop off here. Yeah, you guys are always hating on me.
Hey, I predicted
the
Eric.
breaststroke. The breaststroke,
I predicted Ryan White on
8.
Yeah.
The 100 breaststroke, 56.8. Oh my God. Yeah, like you said, there's a lot of cool things to be looking at besides, you know, gender equity and transgender issues in this meet too.
Six women under 58.
This is just amazing. Yeah, it's really cool to see just in general how far everything's come. It's really cool thing.
Okay. All right. You know, listen further. I think we won't say anything inappropriate on the bonus, but you never know. And if not, we'll talk to you again.
Not if Joel has his way with it.
Always me. So tell me about the Bread Hawk Live thing. So you guys just kind of watch the meet together kind of thing, or what's the deal?
Well, we did a preview.
Yeah.
And I made a bunch of predictions. They're going absolutely awful, including Eric, because of you. I thought Ryan White was going to win the 100 back, and I kind of don't get it. I mean, we'll see what happens in finals tonight, but because Alabama's swimming amazing. Like, that's something we didn't discuss on the official podcast at all, but that 2 free relay last night from Alabama was phenomenal.
Right.
And
that team's been through a lot too. You know, that goes under the radar.
Margot Gear might be my NCAA Coach of the Year.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
So I have to think about it for another second, but right now I can't think of anybody else who's got their team performing better.
So let's hype the Bread Hawk deal. So now,
Sure.
what's the premise? What are you guys doing? What's the?
And did you guys? And were sleeves optional, or they were required that they be removed?
Dude, you should do that. Bench and bullshit. That's what you guys have, like pancakes in practice. You got bench and BS as you're watching a meet. This is gold. Yeah. This is gold.
I did. I only have one tank top, but I ordered a second tank top from Amazon.
Yeah.
You know, because I want to work more tank tops into my. That's where I'm headed in life.
Yeah.
Wearing more tank tops when I work out, so I could try that one on the podcast tonight. It's sort of like this.
No, we're not going to keep talking about your tank top. In all seriousness,
it's a group of men. It's going to be a group of men BSing about a swim meet while it's going on.
It's just in real time, though. Okay.
Just in real time.
It's going to be live.
It's going to be live. More people are going to watch it because Red Hawk is involved. And
so you think we'll get up to 9 listeners, or we gonna crack
on ours? No, Brett's got tons. He's got listeners to spare.
Yeah, I promoted us. I mean, obviously,
ours,
I'm going to
but
keep.
You think
he'll appreciate the bump in 9 people that he gets from this? Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not. The millions.
Us getting to 9, Joel. It's all about us.
Yeah.
Oh.
He obviously doesn't
I don't care
have me
about-
on there to
I don't care about
increase
his following.
viewership. It's my wit that he really enjoys.
Yeah.
No,
So
seriously,
you're
what
and
seriously,
you
what
have-
is it? Yeah, what are you bringing to the
obscure
table?
Danish
What? Yeah.
references.
I think it
Yeah.
might be the comic relief of my hideously awful picks that I've made so far in this meet. The
Huh.
I before
I'm still not
realizing
seeing
that
it. I think you should have Brett on this show to say why.
So were you
Why DeSantis?
actually picking Ryan White, or were you picking against Stanford?
well I did
Yeah, Meehan basher.
yes, I did out myself as the number one Stanford hater. Although then we got into a conversation which everybody agreed on that
They are the Dallas Cowboys of swimming. Was that the conversation?
no, but I'll let you tell us why that is in a second.
All right.
But we did get into a conversation about how, I don't know, me criticizing the performance of some of the swimmers at Stanford, makes me the biggest Stanford hater on the internet. Which just is, I think, is more of a commentary on the way people talk about the sport of swimming. And which is why it's also unusual how much sort of negative coverage we have around Leah Thomas, because it seems like everything else we have to kid glove every single conversation, because it's too harsh to say, like, I don't think that team did well this year.
Yeah, I don't understand like why we have to live in a time where if it's not all puppy dogs and rainbows, it's immediately fire and brimstone. Like, you want the person to be off the face of the earth because you don't see them as doing as good a job as they potentially could given their stable of athletes.
Is it the same level of not understanding the world we live in as in like Chris not understanding the level that people don't want to see him in a tank top? Is it that same kind of level?
I think
so
it's
up here, or okay.
Yeah.
Well, obviously my level of understanding
Chris's
is zero since I
delusion,
bought a second one.
Right. His absolute
Right.
delusion matched only by I get it.
So the actual level of people wanting to see it is all the way down here, but I'm all the way up here going,
I'm in.
They 100% they want to see it.
Protein. Yeah. No, don't you think Stanford and Cowboys is a great analogy? I mean,
Tell me more.
You got amazing facilities, 80s, early 90s, really looking good for you. And now kind of living on that past history kind of a thing. You still get good star power, but they haven't won the Super Bowl. I don't know when, same thing here.
Stanford really won a bunch of NCAA titles in the mid 2000 teens.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is like Dallas back in the early 90s, they won a bunch of Super Bowls.
Right.
They look great, and since then it's all been like, yeah, remember that? And it's like, well, I kind of do. So I don't know.
I do think it's interesting, lest I be branded once again as a Stanford hater, because one of my worst
the
picks
Cal
was
viewership's going through the roof every time. You see the numbers. Cal, all of a sudden, like, look at that. They're pro. You just have to hate someone for Cal to be on your side.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I chose that. I chose a side in that a long time ago.
Okay. Okay. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Unadulterated a Cal supporter. So that's probably
right. So
another
keep going.
Reason.
Tell me why I'm right.
I was just going to say.
Oh, okay.
I picked Virginia to win the 800 freestyle relay, and then it was Kyle Sockwell and Nate Scholl, swim nerd, and Brett. And Nate points out to immediately after I make that pick that Stanford's going to have 3 Olympians on their 800 freestyle relay. You'll have Ruck, Regan Smith, Brooke Forty, and I think Tankersley was the 4th. So not too shabby of a 4th, somebody who's going to score in that event at the NCAA championships. And that you can actually, if you watch the live stream, you can see immediately how foolish I think I was. But the other thing that it reminded me of is when you're watching this, sometimes you think to yourself, like, well, of course, UVA is winning. They're so stacked with talent. Excuse me. But look at the names I just read off for Stanford.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
They got a lot of talent too.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
That's all.
What are they doing with their talent?
Well,
I think
Eric,
it's interesting.
Eric, come on. Be nice.
They used to always do like rankings of the top top recruiting classes and stuff. It's like Rolling Stone magazine. I prefer to read like 20 years later, be like, that was cool. What the heck? So the same thing, like looking at the recruiting class. I want to go back 4 years and be like, that was the number one class. And then all of a sudden, again, you look at what Texas is doing right now. I mean, it's really cool to see when people are kind of like, obviously doing something more than just relying on a recruiting thing, which is always the knock that college coaches get. Like they just, the basketball coach that rolls the ball out, let him play. The swimming coach, like, well, you got everybody, just, hang out, wait for NCAAs and just swim.
Yeah, I think if what you do, if you looked at that, you go, why do Harvard and Princeton have top 10 recruiting classes every year, but never finish within the top 20 of the NCAA?
You're just an Ivy League hater. That's it. It's all the schools you couldn't get into, you East Coast elitists. You're just jealous.
Not so much of an elitist if you can't get in.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. How can you be the elitist? Where does this attitude come from that you have when you couldn't even mingle with these people? They wouldn't even let you in their club. They wouldn't let you play any of their reindeer games. And that's the jealousy, bitterness and jealousy.
Bitterness because I was never admitted to an Ivy League institution.
Oh, little Rudolph, your nose will shine one day. You can do
Except
it.
For that one time. But
that one time.
Other than that, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're out of juice. You got anything else you want to talk about? Kentucky basketball.
You got something floating back there, Chris, that you're. Oh, wasn't it Vern? What you gonna?
Okay, fine. I'll do the Vern thing. We'll do that in the bonus. Let me see. Somebody needs to talk while I find this.
And for the record, please don't start jumping to conclusions and think that we are anti-Vern when it comes to the world that is dry land in athletic performance in that sense.
It is funny how we call it dry land, and then you go to anywhere in the world and you refer to something as dry land. Like, what in the hell are you talking about?
It's like, I think it's just gym or whatever.
Yeah. PE. When we're talking about PE.
I did coach with some Spanish guys and they called it seca, which just means dry in Spanish.
I like it better. So let's just start calling it seca. That'd be good. Good.
It's nice and compact. And I hate how my phone always autocorrects, but you're right. I think of all the people that are involved in, strength training, dry land training, you just look at the teams, the club programs in America that are doing the best. Vern's involved basically with all of them. So he's phenomenal at that. That said, he makes social media posts sometime that drive me crazy. And he made one and I was, breaking my vows and I was on Facebook. So he said, I know, don't tell anyone. All right. It's a good thing it's not being recorded. In Formula One, they go to great lengths to fit the car to the driver. In coaching, we do the opposite. Why do we still insist on fitting the athlete to the training program? One size never fits all. Never forget, it's about the athlete and what they need. And I read it, and here's the reply that I fired off. I said, let's take a look at the business model. Formula One, where you have tens of millions of dollars spent on one person, one car, not to mention an uncountable amount of people whose sole job it is to just make that one car and one driver as fast as possible. Then let's compare it to swim coaching, where many of us get paid poverty wages to help 30, 40, or 50 kids at a time improve. Out of touch.
Yeah. And what he said is absolutely right. It's very correct.
Yeah. In an ideal world, I would love to coach like that, man.
Yes, exactly. And
I would love to be a Formula One coach.
And the reality of it is, yeah, exactly. You need, a lane full of kids that basically don't show up and just keep writing checks so that you can coach the other four. Yeah, I get it. I love that. It ain't happening.
No comment on that.
Yeah, but you're right. It's one of those again. And the worst part is all these people like, I can't believe you're bashing. Not bashing. It's a little out of touch. I would love to individualize everything as much. And I think he's absolutely right in that you could probably individualize things a little bit more and probably create more avenues. And the more individualized you get, the better it's going to get. But again, when you got 50 kids and you got 2 hours and you're trying to spin 4 other plates and you're doing a juggling act and you got a mom yelling at you about something else, you're like, what are you going to do? Again, there's a point where you have to balance out what you can do.
Also interesting. I'm sorry, I'm just building on it. Interesting for a guy whose business model is selling dryland training programs to teams that he's not there individualizing the dryland program. Maybe he's teaching the people there how to do that. But at some level, he's probably making a cookie cutter program that you can follow, from thousands of miles away.
Yeah, it's basically like he's making a bunch of medium shirts for your team that have a little more stretch fabric so that they can fit some of the smaller larges,
right,
and some of the bigger smalls. Again,
and he's doing amazing.
Yes,
he's doing it amazing. Yeah.
Yes. Go for it. Yeah. He's probably a great dude too. I don't know.
So, I think he is.
Yeah.
He's got his heart in the right place.
I got it. Foster's and fast swimming. That should be the Brett podcast right there. You get a Foster's, you get some beers, you hang out, you talk your BS, watching some meets. You'd be great at that. Wearing your tank top, looking kind of small next to him, but doing a good job nonetheless, because we're all super proud of you, Chris. Keep it up. You
got any other Australian stereotypes you want to get out? You want to make any comments about Outback Steakhouse or Crocodile Dundee? Or
yeah, that would be fantastic. Get Crocodile Dundee. Is he still alive?
Paul, what's his
Paul
name?
Hogan.
Paul Hogan.
Not with USA Swimming. Different.
That's Pat Hogan.
Completely different one.
Right. That's a different P Hogan. What was the name of the wildlife guy that got killed by a stingray stinging him in the chest too?
I can't believe you're going to put him in your banned hate list. You're a bad person.
No, I mean
you're going to take this down the negative pathway, and I'm not going to talk about it that way.
And I'm just trying to take off all the Australian stereotypes. Okay, put another shrimp on the bobby, right?
Boy, you're going to get your ass kicked by Brett. You're lucky you're not in the same room drinking.
No, he's never going to listen to this. Actually, unlike the time that I insulted you guys on there, and then that stupid snitch Eric listened anyway.
Yeah.
And then told you about it, Joel. Brett's not going to listen to this. Nate might though. That's the problem. And then maybe we'll have some issues. All right. Well, I think that's the end.
Yeah. If you get your ass kicked, we're sorry, Chris. Good luck though. Because if you're going to bet on relays, Eric and I are going to bet on the fist fight between you and Brett Hawk. My money's on Brett.
Please don't.
I wouldn't call it a fight.
Yeah, that's true. That's
More
true.
or less a beat down.
Yeah.
I'm a lover, not a fighter anyway. Okay.
That's a good way to put it.
The same fight the bird had this morning when it hit my windshield.
That's what I keep telling myself.
Steve Irwin.
Yes, there you go.
I had forgotten. His son is following his path. Hopefully he doesn't.
His son is following this podcast. And Surhoff, BJ Surhoff still never said hi, did he? All right, whatever. All right, see you guys. I'm done.
Reach out to his kid.
Later. Bye.
All right.